them both to an engagement brokered by her father, a meeting in which they both agreed that their marriage would be sensible. Nothing as fanciful as infatuation. That nonsense never lasted. Their bargain was better. An arrangement that benefited both parties in the most practical of ways. The equation was simple. He had a title, her father offered an enviable dowry. And at the time, his dukedom had needed funds. Desperately. Now the Ashmore coffers were healthier, his sisters could finally feel a bit more secure, socially and financially. He'd been able to recoup much of what their father had squandered via investments. His engagement was not as necessary as it had once seemed, which allowed him to notice one very relevant fact. His fiancée loathed him. Perhaps it was that he was too joyless, as she'd once accused, or didn't enjoy parties as she did. Or maybe his own need had blinded him to her reticence about the match from the start, despite her family's glee over matching their daughter with a duke. He didn't miss the irony of Lady Davina hating him now for the very propriety that had persuaded him to marry her in the first place. "There are matters more important than duty, Ashmore." "Such as?" He was baiting her, but couldn't help himself. He preferred plain speaking, and she'd been prevaricating for days. "Family," she said emphatically, then notched up her chin. "Family is a duty, Davina. Perhaps the most important of all." "You can't believe that, not after what you've done to mine." Will let out a sigh and pinched the bridge of his nose. "Your uncle bears that responsibility." The man had swindled a circle of friends, bilking each nobleman out of sums approaching £1,000, enough to leave at least 2 of them paupers. Will had uncovered the man's malfeasance while investigating his own father's crimes. He'd never told a soul, but he had confronted Davina's uncle, both as a warning and to discover the extent of his father's involvement. For whatever reason, the man had confessed the whole sordid business to the entire Desmond clan. "Your father started the scheme," she hissed at him. "With your uncle. They were equal partners." "And would you have ruined your own father too?" "Gladly." He sometimes dreamed of turning back time and uncovering his father's misdeeds before his death. How he would have relished seeing the man face some kind of justice for the damage he'd done to their family and the dukedom. "My goodness, you are cruel." Perhaps he was. He'd been told as much before. He found it hard to forgive those who hurt others for sport, and impossible to overlook harm done to his family. "My only wish is to do what's right." She let out a bitter chuckle. "Ah, yes, the oh-so-very-proper son of the devil duke." Will clenched his teeth and tasted blood. Any mention of his father dredged up an endless well of anger inside of him. "He's not the duke anymore, and it falls to me to restore my family's reputation." Davina remained freakishly still, as if she held her breath. He was prepared for tears, shouting, or even the possibility she might leap across the carriage and bash him as her glare told him she wished to. Words seemed to catch in her throat. She swallowed, opened her mouth, yet said nothing. Only her hands moved, gloved fingers tightening around the tufted edge of her bench. "Say what you must. Do your worst and let's get this over with," he finally said. Her blue eyes narrowed. "Have you ever failed, Ashmore? Made a mistake, brought scandal to yourself and your family?" Her low, whispering tone sent a shiver down his spine. "Never." He rasped out the word. She spoke his greatest fear. "One day you will." She raked her gaze over him from head to toe. "It's in your blood, your birthright, some might say. When that day comes, you'll understand how a man can make a mistake and not deserve to have his life ruined." "I merely sought the truth from your uncle, Davina." "What if his name finds its way into the papers? He'd be shunned by society and lose every friend he's ever had." "I've spoken to no one, though he may confess to whoever he chooses, but for the sake of the dukedom, I must put things right," Will repeated. More than an explanation, it was a plea for her to understand his motives. But she didn't. Leaning over, Davina pointed a finger toward his chest. At the same moment, the carriage rolled to a stop, and she settled against the squabs.